Hello and welcome. This is the meeting of the Town of South Kingstown Town Council. The date is Monday, September 13th, 2010, and the time is 7:30. If you could please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dale, may we have the roll call, please?
Council President Fogarty.
Here.
Councilwoman McAtee.
Here.
Councilman O'Neill.
Here.
Councilwoman Whaley.
Here.
4 members present. Council Vice President Eddy is absent.
Thank you, Dale. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from previous meetings. Do I have a motion for approval for the minutes of the work session of August 16th?
I move approval of the work session of August 16th. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the regular session from August 16th and 18th. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the regular session August 16th and August 18th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the closed executive session from August 18th. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the closed executive session August 18th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to remove?
If not, then I move
No, we're going to remove
the,
F.
Item,
do we have a
New business.
proclamation or not on that? What are we doing?
No, so Kathy, because Kathy needs to be recused from F.
item F under the new business.
Item,
Why don't you vote to approve with the exception of item F and then vote on F?
okay.
In which case she can recuse herself.
All right, I move to approve the consent agenda without item F under new business.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next we move on to licenses. License A is a resolution granting a miscellaneous peddler's license to HotDiggityBigDogs.com, 2590 Kingston Road, Kingston, Rhode Island. The application is by Daniel Kibbe, 259 Kingston Road, Apartment 26, and this is a new license. Is Mr. Kibbe here to speak on this? Okay, if you would like to come forward. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your new business?
Hi. Well, it's a hot dog and sausage business, and I basically have a food truck that I'll be selling food from around the South Kingston area, and I'll be servicing customers.
So, any questions for Mr. Kibbe? Anybody on the council?
Where do you usually go with your food truck?
Well, it's a new business, so I'm looking for different places.
Oh, so you haven't started, you haven't done this before. I thought you had other businesses. Did you?
In the past, I have, but not in South Kingstown, ma'am. I'm from California.
Oh,
So you're going to mostly be around the university? Is that
Around South Kingstown.
just all around South Kingstown?
Yes, ma'am.
Michael, can you help me review the peddler rules, time and
Can't-
place,
Right.
wheels?
In other words, you can't stay in the same place for long periods of time. You have to keep moving around. And there's certain areas that you can't, stay in at all, for public safety reasons.
The police chief has met with the applicant and discussed the ordinance with him.
So you're aware of that you're moving around constantly? Well, not constantly, but,
Yes, ma'am.
Still enough time to,
The chief has...
okay, it's the chief.
there he is.
Come on up, chief.
Madam President, members of the council, I met with the applicant in my office and provided him with a copy of our ordinance. He's well aware of what he can do and what he can't do, where he can sell, where he cannot sell. And I provided him with a copy, and he indicated to me that he clearly understands. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't often get those peddler license, that's why we always kind of question that when that comes up, so it's just, it's different for us when we're usually doing licenses, so that's fine. Any other questions for Mr. Kibbe?
So is it sausage that you make yourself?
It'll be hot dogs and sausages. I'll be getting from Restaurant Depot.
Where's that? Where's Restaurant Depot?
They have a location in Providence.
They're a wholesaler, or are they?
Yes, yes, sir.
I assume you're going to have like soft drinks and chips, that kind of thing too, or?
Yes, ma'am. Just basic.
And how long can you stay in one place? Maybe the chief could answer that. With a peddler's license, is there a time, or is it just a reasonable time?
The ordinance provides that you can only stop and serve customers. You can't park for any extended period of time at any location, waiting for people to come to you.
Very good, thank you, chief.
Any other questions? No? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve License A.
Second?
Been moved and seconded, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Good luck, we'll be looking for you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we move on to communications item. A communication is received August 11th, 2010, continued for review from August 16th, 2010, and a communication received September 8th from Councilman James O'Neill requesting adoption of a resolution concerning the Rhode Island Economic Development Corp's high-tech and knowledge-based business investment policy. It was received, placed on file, and the town council further directs. Jim, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, we went over this in the work session. We've agreed to address and amend a couple of the sentences and paragraphs. The second whereas, we're going to eliminate an implied moral obligation by the state of Rhode Island to one that's definitive, that the state of Rhode Island is right in line, potential financial obligation by the state if the EDC fails to pay the principal and interest. So I think we had that language, and I was going to eliminate paragraph whereas number 3, going to exclude that. Rest, hopefully we'll move forward to Keith Stokes, the executive director. And again, what I'm just trying to do here is just make sure that it's an even playing field, that the process is transparent, and that with the remaining monies, doesn't really put a tremendous squeeze on businesses, especially local businesses who need this kind of capital and loan help.
So we're striking the third whereas, Dale, and I think we also put in the second whereas before, that it said an implied moral obligation, that we're going to put a potential financial obligation there instead? Okay, you got that down, okay. All right. Anybody have any questions regarding that? No? All right.
I'd like to make a motion
Mhm.
for 7A Communication, Jim's resolution on Rhode Island economic development,
As
with
amended.
the changes noted.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Communication B is a communication dated August 19th requesting support for a resolution adopted September 2nd, 2010 by the Providence City Council recognizes September as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month is received, placed on file, and the town council further directs. Council?
I move approval of Communication B, recognizing September as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is Communication C, a communication dated August 23rd from James Guys submitting his resignation from the Assessment Board of Review effective October 1st is received, placed on file, and the town council further directs.
We talked about this in the executive session, what a loss to our board, and obviously we send a thank you letter.
We're at the work session.
At the
yeah.
work session, sorry. And like to move it forward, Communication C.
Yeah, and just to add, I'd like to thank Jim Guys, not only for his years on the zoning board, but for his recent activity on the Assessment Board of Review. Wish him well in his new home in Connecticut, I guess, which I'm not supposed to know, but it's disclosing something we should.
Oh,
But anyway,
Yes, no,
outside of Rhode Island.
we do appreciate his time on the Assessment Board of Review, and we'll be looking for somebody to apply if anybody's interested. So we accept and a thank you that's been moved. Was there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is a communication dated August 23rd, 2010, from Grady Miller, Town Manager, seeking support, the Town Manager of Narragansett, seeking support for a resolution adopted August 16th by the Narragansett Town Council opposing unfunded state mandate, is received, placed on file, and the Town Council further directs.
I believe we already supported a similar resolution from the town of Westerly. I believe it was even more, it was a stronger resolution. It encompassed more specifics. So I would say that we should place this on file since we've already gone on record supporting a similar resolution that would oppose unfunded state mandates.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Jim?
yeah, we maybe even seen some others of these, and I know I brought it up before. I don't know if by resolution or request of the school committee, but this just seems to be guesswork by every community on what in fact comes our way, whether it be education or through municipalities. It would really be nice, maybe we ought to start in reverse and ask all the municipalities what they feel the numbers are, what they feel is not needed, what they feel is needed. But right now, we seem to not ever be able to get a straight answer from the state on what in fact is funded, what's unfunded, and what's unfunded, sometimes how the municipalities treat all these differently. So I just wish we could get some common denominator at one source or the end source. So I certainly agree with what everyone said here. Wesley put together a more definitive resolution that we supported, but just to file this without not having any idea where all these things are going to go, but maybe that's how it works. So I'm just kind of rambling here, but we really need to find out. I mean, we've been doing this for years. Nobody knows what's coming at us, and no one knows the municipalities, how they treat these monies. Maybe they put them somewhere else, not even where they're designated. Maybe I could ask Steve, are these unfunded mandates, are they specifically designated, or does it just go to the town or the school department, and then they're filtered out from there?
The cities and towns are required on an annual basis to submit to the Department of Administration those programs where they believe that there is state mandated cost involved. Those are then reviewed through the Department of Administration, and they put out a report on a yearly basis defining what they see or interpret as being mandates and what the potential costs are. However, over the last several years, the General Assembly has specifically not funded that report within the budget document. What it's done is it's really had a chilling impact on municipalities spending any time really documenting the cost, because the reimbursement's not going to come forward. That report is available online through the Department of Administration, and it's updated, I think, about each year in March.
So we're simply at the mercy now of empty space.
Well, I think that what it comes down to is there's mandated costs, but if the reimbursement for the mandated cost isn't included in the state budget, it doesn't make any difference whether it's mandated or not. It's still a local cost as long as the municipality is meeting the responsibility that the legislation requires.
Has there ever been kind of a one audit covering, trying to cover all the municipalities' response when this was active, when it was looked at?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry.
No, it's no problem.
Happy to file it then. So-
So it's been moved and seconded and now discussed. Any other
Can I,
questions?
can I just ask Steve? Steve, will the chart of accounts through the basic education plan help sort out some of this, or no?
The chart of accounts will provide greater accessibility to data as to what each school district is spending by school and by program, so that the documentation would be stronger for defining how much a municipality or a school district was spending on a specific program if it was a mandate. But there's a great deal of interpretation based on the ambiguity of the existing state definition of a state mandate, and the interpretation as to how much of that would be a responsible community school district program, even if the state hadn't said you have to do it. So there's some very wide latitude there as far as an interpretation as to what is a municipally defined policy program cost and what is a state mandated cost. I think the chart of accounts will at least be able to define better how the money's being spent in the school districts, provided that the school districts diligently use a chart of accounts which is several thousand line items long. And that's yet to be seen.
I know that I attended the school committee meeting, Jim, and a lot of, the superintendent explained the chart of accounts with the basic education plan, that school districts may not be using the same codes. So even looking at some of the mandates, different school districts may be using different codes. So this will at least give, I think, the Department of Ed and the legislators a better view at the mandates and more data, so that they can better tackle this.
Yeah, thank you.
Been moved, seconded, in discussion. Is there any more? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next we move on to a communication. H is the communication received September 8th, 2010, from Councilman James O'Neill requesting adoption of a resolution concerning pension reform is received, placed on file, and the town council further directs. Jim?
Yeah, I get so charged up when I submit these resolutions, I messed up my first paragraph a little bit. What I meant to say was, we did a good job of holding things pretty much flat this year in our budget and requests from taxpayers. What the shock was, of course, was most households having two vehicles worth more than $6,000, which added another roughly $210 to their cost to cover those motor vehicles, and that is, my math is right here, roughly on an average home of $346,000, that's roughly 4%. That was a surprise. The sad part about that was it was usually hits those that can't afford it. The first $6,000 are small businesses, farmers, the poor. So that was kind of a surprise, but so I'll have to fix my first paragraph again. My concern, though, to get to the pension issue is that I think we continue to fail to understand the dynamics of the state nationally, what is happening in the pension world. And in Rhode Island, it is our largest growth of our budgets, whether you're here in South Kingstown or the state. And my pension resolution is really supporting my South Kingstown taxpayers. The town itself is just about fully funded, so we've done a great job there. The problem is most of our budget money goes towards the state retirement system, and that is what's killing us. This year alone, we'll have another $1 million increase for the schools and the town with the recent announcement from the Treasurer's office That's $4 million from the schools. There's a few million more that the state covers for our teachers, and then it's our share of our taxpayers for the state workers. Pension contributions are huge, but it's their rate of growth which is just overwhelming us. This year alone, the new contribution's up 18%. There's no business that can catch up with that, let alone any taxpayers that I know. So that is the real problem. No one wants to address this. I'm certainly hoping with the new governor, which right now I'll be supporting Mr. Caprio because the major unions in the state have all supported Mr. Chafee. I don't know where our council stands on that, but
Political stuff like that.
Well, I
Or
think
stick with
it-
your resolution, I
well,
would
the
say right now.
resolution, I'm right on it. It's a cost of the taxpayers, and if the council is not going to help other councils get together on this and tell our General Assembly members that they need to make some really tough decisions here, we have got to get to this. Every day that's lost, the accumulation is just running away from us. And also from the Treasurer's Office, just to give you another idea, the state asked for about $330 million for both state and teachers last year from local and state contributions, and the Treasurer's Office said by 2020 they'll need $850 million if changes are not made. You just saw another release from the consultants that guide the state pension account, and the fact that our 8.25 expectation rate of return should be at least 7.75, and now there's talk of even a lower number, but just that half point alone is another $60 million plus that the taxpayers would have to cough up. This is, it's tough. We've got to make these decisions. You see what's happening throughout the nation. And I need my counsel to tell our General Assembly members there's no more delay on this. The hard decisions have to be made. You can properly ladder this. And when I say ladder, those that have the most years in the system, who are in the 60s, 50s, they would be the least hurt. Everybody else walking down in age has got to be involved with a combination 401k and defined benefit. And then to the earlier folks, it's going to have to change totally to a defined contribution. It has to happen, but it's very important here. Politics is involved with this, and sadly it is, but the teacher unions are battling this. They don't want anyone to touch the COLAs. The teacher unions have asked that candidates that want to get reelected, they're going to support a reamortization of billions of dollars of bonds. And our taxpayers, who I am supporting here in South Kingstown, cannot afford that kind of money, cannot afford a future loss for their children, and cannot afford their own retirement. That'll be absolutely become almost poisonous, and frankly will force many of them out of the state. So this council needs to, and I'll certainly correct my first paragraph here, but I think this council needs to let our General Assembly members know there's no more delay. The issues brought up here are the ones that have to be addressed. We no longer can avoid this. It's almost like torture, and everyone's admitted that a little bit each year. The General Assembly has done a little bit. They've had 3 or 4 reforms since 2005, but it's never enough. We're just deeper in the hole, deeper in the hole. And it's about time that the people the council members whose ears are closest to the taxpayers, closest to the community, our community members are hurting. And we need to do something budget-wise to help them out. And most of them, as you know, have lost a lot of money in their equity value of their homes, and they are hurting, and they expect everyone else to share in this pain. So hence my pension resolution to the council.
Jim, I'm glad that you were in agreement that there is misinformation in the first paragraph, so thank you for that. I'm not sure that I have heard that the unions were in support of a re-amortization. I've actually heard the opposite of that. In reference to the COLAs, are you seeking even people that have been retired for years to take away the COLA? Because I know that, and I don't know if the legal opinion here at the table, is what I hear, is that we would end up with a lot of court cases and money being spent on that, with people already receiving the COLAs that have already retired. So I think it's unclear, and I would just like to support that 94% is funded in our municipal side. There's a piece down here at the end where you mention the municipal side, and I just want to make the statement that 94% of that in South Kingstown is funded.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I have no interest in those who have retired, and that's why I mentioned the word ladder. We need to walk this down a little bit less each year of age. That's less. I mean, heaven's sakes, look at Social Security. Social Security's walked up from 65 to 67 over 2 decades worth of births, and we'll probably have to go to 68 or 69. And the rule of thumb is it's the amount of workers paying into the system, and you know they're less and less, and payrolls are less, and so we can't get away with that. And people are living longer, so this is just, this has now happened over the last few decades when a lot of these plans were first put together. A lot of life expectancy was in late 60s, early 70s. That's changed drastically, but unfortunately, we have not kept up with that. So I will certainly make that more clear, Ella, the next time.
Right, and I don't see the word ladder, that's why I brought it. If you could point that out, where the word ladder is here? On the COLAs?
Yeah, I did that a few pensions ago, and nobody understood it, so I just tossed it out, but maybe I'll bring it up
A
again.
few resolutions ago.
Yep, I have been trying with this for 10 years, and frankly, if some of this medicine were taken 10 years ago, we'd have a lot less pain today. It certainly would have been a shock across the board at the time, but if you noticed, if you went back to my earlier resolutions, all these things have been addressing where I have been addressing. I've tried to be ahead of the curve on behalf of my taxpayers in South Kingstown.
So are you withdrawing this because of some of the inaccuracies and you coming back? Is that what you want to do with this? Are you withdrawing this with some of the changes that you're agreeing to?
Well, you mentioned one. I was going to fix the first paragraph, just specifically bring up the motor vehicle increase. I'll bring up the issue with already retired folks that COLAs would not be effective, so I will change a few.
Okay, so are you withdrawing it, or should we just place it on file? That's my question, Jim.
Take a motion if you would like to, Ella.
Can I just make a comment first? Jim, I think we all realize that pension reform is a very big issue in the state today, and we all do support, I think we've had this discussion several times, that we do support some form of pension reform, but you do have certain inaccuracies. Number 4 on your be it resolved, many of the teachers who are newly acquired cannot retire until age 65. They're called Schedule B. So some of what you're saying here has already been done.
The COLAs have gone down as well.
Yeah, I think COLAs were eliminated for one segment of the group until age 65, and you're right there, and I'll clean that up a little bit. But overall, what I want you to look at are the hundreds of millions of dollars that we have to find. That's what I want you to look at. I can clean up details here. I need you to look at the massive cost of this, the massive increase of this is beyond any level of growth our state has ever had. That's what I need you to look at. I don't want all the folks behind here not being able to collect. We'll have drastic decisions to make in a decade or two. We don't need to do that.
And I agree that we've stated this before, and we've passed resolutions in the past, Jim, while I've been on the council about pension reform. But some of your reforms that you've put in here, the verbiage has been terrible. The political aspects that you've put in there, and some verbiage that where you being political, where you in your speech were very, very political about where you stand as far as the governor's race. I don't think that should have been stated. But be that as it may, it's already the cat's out of the bag on that one. But even like your resolution about all active public sector employees contributors must match their employer contributions or will be phased in over a 5-year period of time. Sometimes, some even in our own contracts that we've done, if you recall, I'm not going to point out any of them to you, you should know this, we actually have some of our employees who are paying more than what the employer is putting in as far as their pension. So you're asking us to just equal it, so you're actually hurting, you're actually, asking them to pay less into it. So it's actually punishing some of the stuff that we've already not punishing, but you're hurting the taxpayers. And that's some of the stuff that we've done here. So there's some things that you're writing that we've already done with some of our employees here who are actually paying more than what the employer that we're doing to match. So you're asking them to actually come back and pay less, which is gonna hurt the taxpayer. So again, you have to think these things through before you put them on a piece of paper.
That's
You should
pennies,
know that through
Kathy.
You should know
Excuse
that
me.
through well, this is what you're saying, so if we go through the whole state, and maybe there's some other municipalities that have that, pennies add up, don't we know, Jim? So, everybody knows that pension reform is a huge, huge problem. I just personally think that you are taking this out on the backs of the municipal workers, all the people who are sitting out here in the audience who've made a career out of running our town, and the other towns in the state workers and the teachers who have not missed one payment into the pensions. Not one payment into the pension. There are years that have gone by that the state did not pay or match some of the state workers and some of the teachers, and that's the state's fault for not doing that, and goes back to some of the general treasurers in the past. Things economically are not doing well. Some, obviously, investment income's not doing well, so it even seems more troublesome now. Hopefully, things will turn around, but again, I think that you're being really punishing to some of the people. Things have to change. How it's done, a hybrid system has to be put in place, but you can't just say that, from the newbies that we start and go to a 401K, because there'll be nobody there to fund the people who are already in the system. It's a very, very tricky thing. You know that is being looked at up at the state, that the actuaries, are working on trying to come up with some type of a pension reform. Everybody here knows something has to be done, but I just think you're being really very, very critical to the people who have put their lives and career into education, municipal service, and I just don't like some of the language that you put in some of these resolutions, and that's why I won't support these resolutions. And I just want to reiterate that here as the town of South Kingstown, we do our best, and as Ella has already mentioned, we're 94% funded in our pensions. So the town of South Kingstown, the people have certainly done their job, and with the leadership that's been in place, as far as administration over the years, long before you were on the council or I were on the council, that we've been paying into these, all our municipal workers, pensions. So we've done our job, and we continue to do our job on the council. The state has work to do up above, but again, I want to reiterate what we've done for the town, and I'm not going to penalize anybody who's made a choice of a career and has paid every single time into the pension fund and has never missed a payment. You act like these people are, robbing and stealing money out of your wallet because they've been doing their job and under a contract. They deserve to get their pension. Just like you put your money away in some pension fund somewhere, Jim, I don't know what you did. I've done it in my pension fund. People deserve to have their pensions and not be treated like they've done something wrong.
And no one's done that, Kathy. I've complimented our municipal people for years. Your comments are as close to as competent as I've ever witnessed on this council. First of all,
coming
the
from
state
you.
of
I
Rhode
appreciate
Island,
that.
state of Rhode Island has made up on that amortization. If you look at the numbers, when the funds were not contributed in
Sentence your
total
numbers
back
wrong. I don't
with
trust
the-
any numbers you show
I let you
me.
speak, you let me speak, so mind your manners, please. The state of Rhode Island has made up for and has added to the pension costs, the missed payments back during the credit union crisis, and that's added in every year. There is such a minimum difference. There's nothing there. First of all, let's get something straight here. The average worker paying into pensions, let's just get an idea here. The last numbers from our own treasurer's office, for teachers, the average right now pension is $43,000. You would have to have somebody at a retail shop, gas station, small business owner who's accumulated $1,500,000, who's got himself in a 3% CD to earn $45,000. Plus, the state or the teacher is also getting a COLA. Even if it was a state worker who are earning much less, they're only about $24,000 average because a lot of part-time state workers. Still, if you looked at those numbers, you would need $900,000 in the bank earning 3%, and they get wonderful COLAs. There are a lot of good people, terrific people that work for states and municipalities, but they are well rewarded. And this pension system and the wonderful health care advantages they have in embarrass the private sector. You have to know that. Any statistic you look at, the public sector is running anywhere from 1.3 to 1.5 for salary, benefit, and healthcare advantages over the private sector. And I've warned you before that this cannot continue without some civil unrest. These numbers are huge. You refuse to acknowledge it. And go home and
There's a
pull out a
problem.
calculator, take a look at the numbers, and you'll understand why this is a real potential poison pill for our children and for our future retirees here in the state of Rhode Island.
We've all stated that we know that there's a problem with the pension fund, Jim.
Definitely, we've stated that.
Do I have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to place communication H on file. It's Jim O'Neill's pension reform resolution.
Second?
I moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Well, I said I'd correct it, so you can place it on file, or I'll turn in a new resolution next time.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
All right, the motion passes 3-1. Dale, can we have a roll call?
Council President Fogarty,
Aye.
Councilwoman McAtee,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Nay.
Councilwoman Whalen.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is comments from interested citizens. If anybody would like to please come forward and state their name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bob Traeger. I'm not running for town council. My son is. And that's all. I just want to clear that up, just in case I say something that might damage his candidacy. Anyway, I've got two things. I'll try to make it brief. I'd like to just comment just for a second on what just went on before me, if is that all right? Is that within the bounds of my...
Comments from interested citizens.
Okay, anyway.
What do you want to talk about, Mr. Traeger?
I think you all agree with one another. You just can't talk with one another that well, or it's the way it looks anyway. I mean, obviously, we have major problems in the state and the country and the world. And I'm going to mention one that has been on my mind for a number of weeks now, or since it's going on anyway, and that is what I think is a major problem for our whole country. I've mentioned other things in the past, like education, and that's being mentioned every day too. But this is a little more gut-wrenching to me. I don't prepare remarks, I just come and I'm going to try to get this out the best I can. One of them is what is going on in New York City with the mosque or cultural center construction and the controversy about it. I think I understand a little bit. I can understand how feelings can be generated by such things, but this country needs to come together and support its heritage. Its whole being revolves around freedom of speech and freedom of religion. I think the president alluded to it very well, but nevertheless, it's unfortunate in my mind that the kinds of publicity that this type of thing generates, as if it is a point of discussion whether someone has a right to build something, I don't care where it is. As one of my sons mentioned to me the other day, we ought to build every single church that every single religion that exists, build one right next to each other. Maybe that would straighten it out. But I don't want to even get into all that. The basic point that I want to make is that I think people in this country should speak up. And I'm not a very good writer, and I'm not good on the internet, so I don't get to do these things. I know maybe this isn't the place, but this is my place. This is where I come when I want to say something, so I'm saying it. I'm saying that we should stand together and respect our friends in this country and not blame a group because something happened and some of their particular affiliation had something to do with it. Did we do that in the Oklahoma incident? Did we, I don't know what Tim, whatever is, you know, what religion he espoused to, but did we condemn them all? Are we going to get into a state of mind that we were in World War II when they took all the Japanese and put them in intern camps? Is that how we're going to go again? Is it ignorant? It's beyond ignorance to me. The whole world is beyond ignorance to me, to be honest with you, what's going on. Okay, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. I just want you to know that I believe the town council should have a resolution condemning that kind of thinking in this country. Okay, and of course, to put the frosting, or whatever you want to call it, on the cake, then you got this other complete maniac that's going to burn the Quran. I mean, holy mackerel. Anyway, at least he backed off. He got plenty of publicity before he did. All right, done. That's done. Okay, I'll start on something else. The other thing is less emotional with me, but I brought it up a number of, I think a couple of years ago now. The police chief was good, and we had a meeting, and what came out of my request for a walkway on Succotash Road was a sign near the end of the road by the state saying, "Stay to the right." That was it. And that's okay. I don't blame anybody for that. I don't blame the town for it. But I think that if anybody has driven down Succotash Road this summer, they realize that we have a new problem there. And it isn't a bad thing, it's a good thing. Someone is being successful, and I'm glad for that person. But I believe that, in fairness, the town should be taking action on what's going on. And I've waited until now to bring this up because I don't want to interfere with anybody's well-being, and I don't want to now. I want to make it better. And one of the ways that would make it better for me would be for this town to petition the state, I know it's a state road, and say we have a problem here. And there is a problem. I mean, I happen to be the one that drives down it 15 times, 20 times a day, so I see the problem, and other people might not care, or I think some people might care or wouldn't know what to do, because how many people come to town council meetings? Not too many. I can remember the day when you almost called me a member of the council, because I used to come all the time, and I wish I had the wherewithal, and I wish I was disciplined enough to do it more often. But anyway, my request for you tonight is to look at this situation. It's going on. And I think that this is a time when maybe some action could be taken. And here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see you petition the state very forthrightly, not just a little note saying, oh boy, you know, get the state troopers down there. I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to help people. So I believe here's what we should do right away. Take the signs out, take the signs down on the side of the road that say no parking, because people park there. And if we want to let people park there, I have no problem with it. Let them park there, take the signs down. Take the no parking signs down, and then pursue a way of solving the problem. That's one way to solve the legal problem. People can park there legally. I'd like to see that. I don't want anybody not to be able to park. But I want people to be able to walk down the road without having to walk into it. And Succotash Road is a 40-mile-an-hour road, and people go 40 miles an hour or 50. And I didn't want to bring safety up, and I won't. It's just something that it should be done. And I don't know who's going to take the bull by the horns and get it done. Something needs to be corrected, and today was the perfect day down there. Nobody on either side of the road because it's cold, and this is the day I says, well, I better get my body down here to the town council meeting, because this is the time to bring it up. And we got a whole winter. Put some people to work. Thank you.
Anybody else? Jim?
Yeah, with Bob Traeger's comments there, maybe directed to the police chief, Steve, how do you petition a lowering of the speed limit? Because quite frankly, Succotash, most of it's posted at 40, and everyone does at least 10 over that. How do we get to reduce that?
I'll let the chief answer. I think that there is state statute in place which establishes what the speeds are on all roads based on the qualification, well, the classification of that road. I'm not sure if there's a way of getting that speed reduced.
But I mean, you know, that's been in place a long time. All of a sudden, Snug Harbor's grown. We have South County Hills. Just all of a sudden, it's just blossomed with residences feeding into that.
There's a statute, Mr. O'Neill, state statute says that no person will drive at a speed greater than is reasonable or prudent under the conditions, having due regard for the actual and potential hazards then and there existing. There's another statute, state statute, that regulates that the speed limit in a residential and business district is 25 miles an hour. Now, in order to, and by the way, you cannot reduce the speed in a residential or business district lower than 25 miles an hour with the exception of a school zone. Now, in order to reduce a speed limit on any road, especially a state road, there would have to be a traffic engineering study conducted by the state to determine whether a reduction is appropriate. And what they do is obviously traffic counts and monitoring speed over a period of time, and then a recommendation that goes before the State Traffic Commission. Now, based upon that investigation, they would make the appropriate decision.
So I guess, I mean, here's a road that we have for the first 2 or 3 miles is all residential fed, and then it becomes commercial. So where does that maybe fit in between all of these?
Well,
statutes?
there's a definition of what is residential and what is business. I think it's a certain number of structures within a distance of 300 feet, which identifies residential and/or a commercial district. Okay.
I thought that the speed limit on that street started out at 40 when you're coming off of Route 1, but doesn't it go down to 25 somewhere around the bridge? So it does change. Just want to make that point. It's not 40 all the way down to Jerusalem.
No, there was a variation in the speed along that road.
Yeah, it's just those first few miles, which is a 40 miles an hour, which is really residential fed. That was my point here. It's, and when you start at that speed, it's really tough to slow down. It takes quite a while to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, would you think about taking, not you think about, but what would you think about them removing the signs? I thought it was really more, the no parking signs was for a safety issue.
You know,
in
what
that
I'd
area.
like to do is bring this before the Transportation Traffic Review Committee and discuss it, and we'll have an internal review of it through the police department, and we'll take a look at it. I'm not prepared now to say that I agree with Mr. Traeger, but I certainly am willing to take a look at it in conjunction with the State Traffic Commission.
I thought it was a safety issue because.
But I will tell you that I'm not aware of any accidents that occurred over the course of time there. So if the simple issue is Mr. Traeger's feeling that the speed is too high, I mean, we'll take a look at it.
Can I speak? That's not what I'm saying. I don't think the speed is too high. I think that
Come up to the microphone, just so people at home can hear you, Mr. Traeger.
the problem is, people do not have a way to walk, and that is a highly, it's walked by baby carriages, it's bicycles, it's many pedestrians. I see it every day. People walk and they use Succotash Road. What would it be like if the Route 108 going into Galilee had no sidewalks? What would it be like if many of these roads are out, that are state roads had no sidewalks? I just believe there should be a walkway. And there's a walkway. I don't care where people park. They could park all the way down to the beach. But then there should be a walkway so pedestrians can walk. That's my problem. That's my main issue.
Is there not a white line there for a walkway on the east side of that road, at least near the restaurant?
Now people park right over the white line.
Okay. So we only need one walkway. Would that be reasonable?
Well, I think what you're talking about here is a major construction project, establishing sidewalks, and that's something entirely different than traffic control.
I think it's also important to note that last year, the Traffic Committee did review and did deal with traffic issues in and around the bridge. And what the determination was in working with the state was that the parking would be prohibited on the east side of the road. The reason that was done is so that we would not have people crossing two lanes of travel or having people exiting the restaurant between parked cars, which would not have been able to be seen with the traffic coming in a southbound direction. So the state has reviewed with the Town Traffic Commission the parking. The issue that Mr. Traeger brings up as far as there being an unimpeded pedestrian way, that's not available other than on the east side of that road at this point, because parking was allowed on the west side of the road from, I think, about 20 feet from the bridge back across where the parking lot for the restaurant is, because there the right-of-way is wide enough for the vehicles to be off the travel way. So there was accommodation made in the efforts to protect public health and safety in that area. Should that be reviewed a second time based on the practical application of the no parking and the allowed parking on the west side, it certainly can be done. But I think what we would have to do is to take it back through the Transportation Committee and to look at what type of traffic infractions or accidents that we saw there before we would make any recommendations to the state for further revisions on the parking status.
Kath? That's a road that I travel quite frequently as well. And it is well-traveled by pedestrians, mothers with baby carriages, absolutely, bicycles. I also know, Steve, that since I've been in the town council, going into the East Matunic parking lot, there were signs placed there, like to stay to the right, waiting for vacancies in the parking lot. And I know, and you can respond to this, Bobby, I think that that's been better. I think there were only one or two incidences where, the road was blocked with backup of traffic. But since I've been in the town council, that's been much better. So anything that can be looked at that with some kind of a walkway would be great. And I know that would take quite many, many, many years to get that implemented, but I think it's something we need to look at into the future.
Oh, did you?
Just one more thing. Yeah, of course, Ella spends a lot of time down there, I do too. When we get to the Narragansett side of it, this summer, we had to really slow down to a couple miles an hour and weave our way through the traffic, getting down to Bob's place to buy some stuffies and fish. Oh, no, but it is true, the point is, though, we...
Walkway.
Yeah.
The roads are walkways.
Exactly, the whole road's a walkway.
They stay right in the middle of the road.
I know. I know. So maybe we need that in the whole Succotash Road.
Yeah, I have another question. Go ahead. No. Steve, who maintains the removal of sand on the road down there? Is it Narragansett, or do we do that?
That would be
Or
the
the
state.
Okay. I know that, there was a few days that it was almost hazardous with the amount of sand that was there for cars, bicycles, people walking. It was just very slippery. So, okay, thank you. DOT.
Carol, I thought you had something there.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to make mention of the football player who was hurt in practice approximately 2.5 weeks ago. He's doing very well, and I would like to send out our best wishes and get well soon to Mike Gray. And good luck, fast recovery. It's a testament to his strength and character that he's come this far, and he is home, and he has more surgery to go through, but we're hoping to get him back in school in October. So good luck to him, his father, and his grandparents.
Absolutely, good luck. Okay, so any other comments then? No, if not, we move on.
Kathy?
Oh, Jim, go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, maybe Steve will bring it up. We talked about this the last time, our recycling success, but the newspapers finally carried John Schock's photograph with a
Oh, yes.
$22,000 check in his hand. But are you going to address that again this evening, just our success with the program from Resource Recovery? Or can we find out what the $22,000 is?
The 22,000 is South Kingstown's share of the recycling revenues that were generated by the state at Resource Recovery. And it's based on what our proportionate share would be based on the percentage of recyclables brought from South Kingstown to the facility in relation to what each of the other communities has provided. So yes, we will have that money. That money is deposited in the Solid Waste Management Fund. It is used, a portion of that money is used to pay for the recycling, the part-time recycling coordinator, as well as the recycling programs that are ongoing in the town. Anything that we can do, we will do as far as promoting green activities and the recycling. I would mention that we are hopeful that within the next 6 to 8 weeks that the recycling calendar will be out. We're also in the process of making a recycling video. Both of those are being paid for through grants that we've received through Resource Recovery. So we're continuing consistent efforts to be able to keep recycling in the public eye and hopeful to get more people to cooperate and participate in that program.
Oh, that's great. What period of time did that cover?
That covered a one-year period. We received a similar amount last year. I believe it was 22,000 last year. So it's consistent. Even though the value of the recyclables is down in terms of the materials, hopefully if the value of the recyclables increases, we'll continue to see increases in the value of that program reimbursement to the town.
Great, thank you.
That was a nice picture, John. How tall are you? No offense, I mean, we know he's not a... I don't know if he made it to your elbow. Fun, that's nothing, none of my business. Town manager.
You're done with shock. I just wanted to recognize all the people's cooperation in the hurricane preparedness planning that was done. We were certainly fortunate not to be hit by that storm, but we were certainly ready if we were hit by that storm. I wanted to particularly point out the volunteers that had just received their certificates for training for the evacuation center that were available and ready. We opened the evacuation center. We were fortunate we were able to close it within 8 hours of its opening. But we had the volunteers in place who were cooperating with the Red Cross and with the police department. I want to also recognize all of the different groups that came together. We had planning meetings that involved South County Hospital, the schools, as well as the 2 fire districts and all of the municipal departments. Each of those department directors reported in on what activities had taken place, what they were preparing for. Documentation was in place on all of those items. Direct communication and cooperation with the Rhode Island EMA. It was a good test of putting the system together, but I do want to recognize all of the volunteers that are in this community that at a time when a potential emergency is facing the community, that they are there and that they are willing to pitch in. And certainly I want to recognize the town staff that did yeoman work in terms of getting all of those plans in place to be ready, whether it was Public Works with having things in Matunic ready for closure if necessary, or the Recreation Department taking care of the playgrounds to have them prepared as well. So I want to thank them all and just to advise that it was a good planning exercise, and hopefully it's an exercise that we won't need anytime in the future.
People don't realize what goes into, buckling down the hatches in a town like South Kingstown. People might say, there was too much, news reporting on it, but, again, it was a good practice, and I think the town did extremely well. And Steve, I know you were involved with a lot of different meetings, and again, it was for naught, thank God. But again, we're ready for the next time if it, hopefully there isn't coming down the pike, but if it does, we're ready for it. There's a lot of work that goes in behind it, and I do appreciate all the town and all the different departments that were involved in that. I know it was very involved. So thank you, and thank you to everybody in all of our department people who had to be activated. So anything else, Steve?
I have nothing else.
Unless there are questions, I'm set.
Okay, appointments, we usually wait until we have a full council here, so we'll wait until we have Polly back and to discuss that. So we go on to new business items. So next is new business item A, a resolution authorizing award of bid to MHQ Municipal Vehicles, 401 Elm Street in Marlborough, Mass. for 2011 Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor V8 vehicles in an amount not to exceed $48,163, including equipment, transfer, installation, and as further described in the memorandum from the police chief to the town manager dated August 17th, entitled Supplemental Bid Recommendation Police Vehicle Replacements, Flood Damage 33010. Steve?
We lost 2 police cars during the March 30 flooding incidents. The vehicles have been declared total losses. We will have reimbursement from our insurance carrier for a portion of those vehicles. They will be paying approximately half of the cost of the replacement vehicles. Fortunately, the 2 vehicles that were lost were vehicles scheduled to be traded in the 10-11 year. So we've got about $45,000 budgeted for the replacement of those 2 vehicles. We'll be spending about $23,000 net to the town. In January, we went out to bid for the purchase of police vehicles for the year. We had a provision within there that they would hold the price if we needed additional vehicles based on destruction of the existing fleet vehicles anytime while they were still making the 2010 model cars. The company is no longer making the 10s, but they have agreed to hold the price for the 2011 model. My recommendation would be to award the award for the 2 vehicle replacements as presented on the agenda to MHQ at the stated prices within the agenda item. Total price for the 2 vehicles plus the equipment transfers will be $48,163, of which $24,940 will come through insurance reimbursement, and the net cost to the town will be $23,223.
If not, then I move approval of new business resolution A.
Second?
Seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we move on to item F, a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to abate taxes in the total amount of $6,354.32, as shown in the tax abatement request number 459. This I'm going to recuse myself.
Jim, would you handle this, this resolution, please?
All right. That will do. So let me read again. F, a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to abate taxes in the total amount of $6,354.32, as shown on tax abatement request number 459. Steve, can you fill us in?
The resolution is similar to all other resolutions that we received from the assessor on erroneous assessments or individuals that are filed late for the elderly tax abatement program. There are two items. One is that Mrs. Fogarty is recusing herself because there is a abatement of taxes in the amount of $95.22 to her, to Brendan J. And Kathleen Fogarty. I'd also, for the record, note that there's also a vehicle that was traded in by Alan Lord, the finance director, that's on here for $127.44. Most of the other ones are either pricing errors on motor vehicles or adjustments that were brought to the assessor's attention subsequent to the certification of the roll.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council members? If not, do I have a motion?
I move approval of new business item F.
Second?
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Hearing none, vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we move on to nothing. So we actually need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The meeting is adjourned at 8:40, about, approximately.